Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the CPCECPR Conference 2025. My name is Gwen, Senior Lecturer of the Division of Languages and Communication, CPC Poly.
I'm Noble, Lecturer of the Division of Language and Communication, Poly CPC. On behalf of Poly CPC Center for Pedagogic Research, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you once again. We appreciate you take time off your busy schedule to join us today.
The title of this conference is Human, Technology and Artificial Intelligence in Education, Quality Transformation, with a variety of topics surrounding teaching, learning, assessment, and feedback with digital and AI technologies across disciplines, and sharing of pedagogic practices by tertiary teaching practitioners.
To commence the conference, please welcome Professor Peter Yun, Dean of Poly CPCE, to deliver the welcoming remarks.
Professor Chan, and also joining us online is Professor Hu, Professor Wahun, Professor Ming Chu, my colleagues, distinguished speakers, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the CPCE Center for Pedagogical Research Conference on Human Technology and AI in Education. As one of the largest tertiary self-financing tertiary institutions in Hong Kong, with over 10,000 full-time student enrollment, and as a teaching-focused institution that has always prided itself for good teaching, we need to be on the top of things when it comes to teaching and learning. Today, the challenges and opportunities created by AI and education is beyond imagination. At CPCE, we have purchased many AI training for our staff and students. We have organized many training workshops. We have developed guidelines and for staff and students on the use of AI. However, despite all these attempts, I'm afraid all of our efforts become outdated in a very short period of time because of the speed of how things are developing in the AI arena. So I'm very grateful that our Center for Pedagogical Research has taken the initiative to gather leaders and researchers in this area to share their thoughts, research findings, and practical experience on this very important and dynamic topic. I'm sure the conference today will enable insightful discussions on ways to overcome the pedagogical challenges and evolve pedagogical use of technology in a way which is beneficial to all. It's great to have so many like-minded colleagues gathered together to examine these important issues from different angles. Finally, I'd like to thank my colleagues for organizing this conference, especially Dr. Esther Tong, Dr. Eric Jones, and others, and colleagues, for the effort. And I'm grateful for all attending this conference today here as well as online. Thank you very much.
Professor Yun, thank you. Now let's welcome our guest of honor, Professor Cecilia K.Y. Chan, to give us a keynote address. Professor Chan is Professor of Teaching and Learning Innovation Center and Faculty of Education, the University of Hong Kong. Professor Chan, please. Thank you.
Well, good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and friends. But it is a tremendous honor to join you today as the guest of honor for this CPCECPR conference, motto in 2025. Now let me begin by heartfelt gratitude to Professor Peter Yun, right, the Dean of CPCE, and Dr. Esther Tong, who is the chair of the CPR, and also Eric and Dr. Eric, yes. and the entire organizing committee. Now, I know you put a lot of effort in organizing this particular remarkable event. Your dedication and vision have created an extraordinary platform for all of us, for both teachers, researchers, thought leaders, and of course, this is a very, very important topic at the moment. As Peter mentioned, it's extremely dynamic. Whatever we're talking about is very, very important because we need to build on it. You know, things change very fast at the moment. Now, today's theme, human technology. So, today's theme, human technology, artificial intelligence in education and quality transformation. Now, this is both timely and vital. The program you have designed is truly inspiring, with an exceptionally lineup of keynote speakers. Now, I'm personally very eager to hear Professor Ming Chiu, whose work on applying AI and statistics to big data and how to analyze and make meaningful insight. And the insight from Professor Hu, I'd like to hear more about the Socratic playground for learning in AI in education. And lastly, Professor Gaofeng Li, I know she'll be online, I presume, right, will offer us thought-provoking perspective on language and learning in AI. Now, I encourage everyone here, to really deeply engage with the keynote and the parallel sessions, as they will undoubtedly spark ideas and collaborations that can shape the future of the world. Now, let me share a bit about myself, okay? I think many of you know me of my work in education on AI, but I'm actually an engineer at heart. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've been doing. Okay. And then Judy asked me, what's wrong with my eye, right? I'm just kind of Terminator eye lately. Really red. Because I wouldn't go to bed. I am doing this, okay? I came from an engineering background, really, okay? And before I've been in education, doing education research for the last 17 years. But since AI sparked up, I really feel like, wow, I'm really kind of planning this back. So I'm doing this, and I'm also doing this all at my time. Yeah, I actually feel this, okay? And it's now talking to ChatGPT. It's waving at me and doing all these walking. So I wanted to give me 5. There's doing the give me 5 situation. Okay. The size of it. I'm doing choice as well. So this is what I'm doing lately. And now this is how sophisticated robotic and AI is happening. Basically, I'm able to talk to my robot dog, right? Give this dog a picture, and the picture, he will recognize the picture by looking at the equation. You probably can see it. I don't know if you can see it again. So it's 4x plus 5x. So I asked it, what do you see in the picture? I know you can't really hear that. But it's basically saying, oh, that's 4x plus 5x, that's 9x. Okay. So it is how sophisticated. It'll have all the sensors and stuff as well. Now imagine things that we couldn't do before, and now every student, right, can actually feel something similar, and then go to different places and collect the data. Now, of course, there's other things that we worry about as well. So yeah, this is my nerdy self. In fact, my children, I have 2 kids, and my children is like me and my husband is also a nerd, right? And we're both very nerdy. And about 5 o'clock in the morning when we got this working, we were like, yeah, and kind of whispered the whole house. And my children said, Mommy, I never realized you're that nerdy. I've been hiding it for the past 10 years, but so they now know. Anyway, now I've been kind of leading a lot of things on AI in education, and I've been leading an AI in education lab at Hong Kong Group. And where my team and I have been developing innovative approaches using AI in education. Now we're asking a question like, how can AI enhance learning experience while maintaining the essential human elements of teaching? How can it empower teachers to do more and students to think deeper? Now that's the big question. Now there are other questions and that I hope maybe during this conference we will address too, as we explore more opportunity and challenges at the intersection between human intelligence and also machine learning intelligence. Now, AI is no longer a futuristic concept. It is here, influencing every aspect of our life, especially education. Whether through personalized learning platform, automated assessment, or AI tutor, we have seen glimpses of how technology can revolutionize teaching and learning. But it's as exciting as these advancements are, they also bring a lot of challenges. And one such challenge is maintaining integrity in the age of AI. Okay, now in this second picture here, right, yeah. Okay, some of you might realize this, right? CES, right, is a conference or a convention in America every year. And they usually host it in Las Vegas. And that was last week, right? And they show a lot of different new technologies. And this is one of the new technology that a particular company is building. And basically, they are building robots, which will be the companions of people. Okay. And yes, so this, as the newspaper said, this could be your AI robot girlfriend for $175,000 US. Now, I'm not sure it's like Hong Kong girls cheaper or, you know, the princess, right? Or 175,000. But of course, this is a challenge. This is a problem in the future, isn't it? I mean, imagine some of our students already not going out to meet people, not dating, not traditional dating. They're doing the digital meeting people. And now in the future, maybe they're having this robot girlfriend and boyfriend. So what is going to be like for our population to be? There are a lot of problems that we need to solve in the future with artificial intelligence. And this is just one of them. Now, back to education. In some of my research, we have uncovered students are grappling with the concept of things like AI plagiarism or AI jurism, as we call it. So what do I mean by AI jurism? Well, AI jurism refers to an ethical practice of using AI technology, particularly Gen AI, right, to generate content that is plagiarized either from original human authored work or directly from AI generated content without acknowledgement. Now, even with acknowledgement, is it okay? Is it enough? This is something we are also grappling at. I know everybody is kind of asking their student to, yes, if you're using AI, you need to acknowledge it. You need to kind of attribute and saying, what did you use AI for? But then, of course, there's a problem of how many lines of code that we need to put in, right? And when you use your AI. So do you give them like, a history of AI chat that you use? Or what do you do next? So, and then of course, the next thing is that what is going to be the definition of plagiarism in the future? Okay, this is something we're still exploring. Another phenomenon that I've been looking at is AI guilt. So we're kind of like, this is kind of a phenomenon. It's a short-term challenge, I think, that students or teachers even, right, will feel moral discomfort because they're using AI too, that is traditionally performed by humans. So you might come across some students saying, no, I'm not using AI. That's not me. That's not authentic, or they might feel, hey, this is a bit lazy. Or more importantly, they worry, they fear of you as a teacher or their peers judging them. Okay, so these are some of the things that we need to think about. Now, these concepts kind of remind us that education is not just about technology. It's about values, it's about ethics, it's about guiding students to become thoughtful, responsible user of the tools, even if they have them. And of course,
AI, this is just some example that I'm researching on, but AI also give us the power to reimagine the learning itself. Now, it's like when COVID came, okay? I've been in Hong Kong U for 17 years. And the first 10 years, it took me a long time to try and convince teachers to use technology in general. Like, please use Moodle, please, and that's our platform. I know Moodle isn't great, but anyway, that's a different situation. But like, just, use some kind of technology. We have policy, we have guideline, we have recognition, we have about, 5 different websites, right? It took them a long time. But then COVID came, right? It was like a catalyst for us. And yes, you have to use some kind of technology. So everybody now know how to use Zoom. Then, of course, the problem is now that you know how to use Zoom, you wouldn't use anything else, would you? Right? So if we want to introduce a new technology to them, they'll be like, oh, I'm not sure. You mean Microsoft Teams? Oh, I'm not sure. I think I stick with Zoom, So this is kind of our problem. It's kind of human psychology problem, right? So with AI now, can we afford not to change? This is another question we need to think about. Now, something that is important is that human must be in the loop, okay? And in my lab, in my AI in Education lab, we are exploring different things, including how AI can support experiential learning by simulating real-world experience or scenario for students. But if you look at the logo that we have, okay, the logo that we have here, we have, of course, AI. But then we also have the people in it, because it's the people. We always have to remember it's the people that are important. Because as much as I love technology, and trust me, I do, I love technology, it's important to remember that human element must remain central, okay? And as I said before, right, the robot you see, the robot girlfriend, she actually have a name. Her name is Aria, okay? I just don't know how to think of it. I'm a little bit uneasy about it. But in terms of teaching is inherently relational. What does that mean? Well, it's about mentorship, isn't it? We as a teacher, we mentor the student. It's about empathy. When your students come across certain things, they don't understand, they come to you. There's also that feedback, that empathy, and understanding the unique needs of every learner. So no algorithm can replace the connection between a teacher or a student. Now, quality transformation, as this conference theme suggests, is not just about adapting the latest technology. It's about weaving together the strength of human intelligence and AI to create an educational experience that is meaningful, that is inclusive, and that is balanced. Okay. Now, in my work on holistic competence, so before I used to do a lot of work on 21st century skills. In fact, I still do a lot of work on 21st century skills. Now, I refer skills like critical thinking, adaptability, or empathy as life jewel. Now, these are the attributes that will prepare our students to navigate a complex AI-driven world. So in our lab, we're working on projects that exemplify this kind of balance. For instance, we're developing AI-integrated assessment that are meaningful, even with the use of AI tools, because that is one of the biggest problems that we have at the moment, isn't it? I know a lot of teachers, especially in the arts discipline, right? They're worried, hey, if I'm asking my student to write an essay, they could easily use AI to write it. How is that meaningful? How are they going to learn? So what I like to do is I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to join a global project, okay? Gen AI Assessment Policy Project. Okay, some of you know, Eric knows, right? We already have 300 people around the world joining us, okay? And this initiative aims to revolutionize education assessment by exploring how AI can be effectively integrated into assessment without compromising student learning. Now, you can see the word GAP, Gen AI Assessment Project, GAP. GAP is more than a research project, okay? It is actually a global movement. By bringing together educators, researchers, industry, policymaker, we are trying to evaluate traditional assessment method and asking the fundamental question about what are the purpose of assessment in the age of AI. Okay. And we need to work together. So I warmly invite all of you to join the GAP project. And these are some of the things we are planning to do. Rethink our pedagogy, examine the purpose, explore the impact of using AI, define some kind of AI assessment guidelines or policy, and reconsider our process of teaching and be future ready. As we begin today's discussion, I encourage you to think about 3 questions. Okay? What strategy can we adopt to ensure that educators are equipped to integrate AI into their teaching in ways that are ethical and effective? Okay, so when you go to the different parallel session or keynote, think about that. How can we do that? You know, when you hear other people, oh, what are they using? Can I use that method and adapt it into my own classroom? How do we prepare students to navigate an AI-driven world while nurturing their human competence? Okay, this is now more important than ever, being human, the humanity. How can we design learning environments that celebrate the strength of both human and AI? So having that balance is extremely important. And this question, we don't have easy answers. So this is precisely why we are here today, to share the knowledge, to challenge each other's assumptions, and envision a better future of education. Now, in closing, I want to thank the CPCE team for organizing this conference and for bringing together such a diverse and talented group of individuals. It's not often that we get to pause and reflect on the big picture of education, technology, and humanity. This is really a big picture, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so with all of you today. Now, since Chinese New Year is coming, okay, I would like to give you a red pocket, okay? So I prepare, now hold on, team, right? I've actually prepared this. So if you go to the QR code, you will receive an online version of my book for free, okay? And these are the different, unfortunately, it's just an online version, okay? So thank you. And I look forward to the thought-provoking discussion ahead. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chan. Thank you. It's wonderful to hear an engineer at heart to care about the humanities and to keep the humans in the loop, right? Okay, so before the first keynote speech, we have a group photo taking session. May all guests be seated and all the audience and participants be seated. Our photographers will take a few photos from the stage first, and then we will engage the online guests as well. Thank you.
Coming up is our first keynote speech by Professor Hu Xinren, who is very kind to deliver the very late talk at night in Geneva.
Thanks, Noble. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to today's keynote session. We're honored to have with you a distinguished speaker who has made significant contributions to the field of education and artificial intelligence. Our keynote speaker today is Professor Xiang'en Hu, a chair professor in learning sciences and technology at Hong Kong Polytechnic University. He earned his BSc and MSc in applied mathematics from Hezhong University of Science and Technology, and his PhD in cognitive psychology from the University of California, Irvine. Before joining PolyU in 2023, he spent nearly 3 decades at the University of Memphis, where he held joint appointments in psychology, computer science, and engineering. His research focuses on cognitive modeling, statistical analysis, and leveraging artificial intelligence in education. At PolyU, he leads the Institute of Higher Education Research and Development, advancing innovative educational practices and methodologies. Today, Professor Hu is speaking on generative AI in education, from foundational insights to the Socratic playground for learning. Please join me in welcoming Professor Xiang'en Hu to the virtual stage.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yes or no? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? I need to have, well, I can hear you, just to make sure that you can hear
Yeah,
me.
we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm Shangyan Hu, and I'm in Geneva today. I should have been in the audience with everybody, and unfortunately there was a committed obligations that I have to be here. But this actually gave me an opportunity in UNESCO to brag about what we're doing in PolyU. I enjoyed the Cecilia's presentation earlier, and then this is great. Actually, I'm glad that mine is the next one, so I actually can echo some of her concerns. So my presentation title is Generative AI in Education. Um, in the last 2 years, actually, since last year, I was giving a keynote in the same conference. There was a lot of things happening. I do have quite a few insights from last year. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to share with you in the next 40 or some minutes. So here's my title. And then, as you know, that right now that we all hooked on generative AI or large language model. So again, my presentation, some of the artifact, even language, are actually helped by large language model. So I'm sure that this is happening to everybody. So to respect what might help, from now on, I'm treating large language model just like a human. And Cecilia voiced the concern about having this in our life, in our professional and probably personal life. And I certainly among the first one that actually making it as part of my academic life. So this is my character, that my body double. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a few things that are probably consistent with the conference. First, I'm going to look at a few observations that I had since last time, and some observations about promises, sins, and virtues about the generative AI. And I'm going to just share some of my most recent implementations to you. And then if we have time, since I'm online, so I probably do a hands-on. Okay. So here's what we're talking about generative AI. As you know, it is the elephant in the room. There's no doubt that almost everywhere we go, doesn't matter it's a private conversation or public speech, everything. This elephant is actually, for some, is disjoin everything. For some, is enable everything. So this is what happened. And then when we talk about this one, we talk about 3 levels of generative AI. One is foundational model. And that's something that we are excited about, that we're worried about, and they hallucinate. They make us educators study to unsettle, and then feel very, very worried. And in the meantime, we feel this is also empowerment. So that's the foundational model. Now, because of there are issues like hallucination or other issues, and the second one is the agents. And right now, probably if you watch news, this is all over the world, especially the CES in the last week. Actually, probably it's still going on in Las Vegas, and the people started to from the virtual agents, the congregation of a bunch of AI API instances, to embodied or physical agents, and then that's just getting people even more worried. And then they're saying that in the future, our computer scientists, it's more like our HR department for human computer scientists or computer engineering is like a resource management for the agents. So and then there was bold claims about the future. There are no program needed, and we all just using agents. It is almost wild west right now. Now the third one actually is an application. That's really related to what educator does. We actually most of our educators, when I talk to, of course, they're dreamed to have some, RAG or some of their local models for foundational research. They really want to make their knowledge being used like being generated as their own model. But unfortunately, every generation of new foundational model just crush everybody like nothing else. So I'm still not optimistic that our the generation of foundational model will be easier for educator to generate. But the second one, it is kind of easy because you can use Crew AI or Longchain or the newer models of O1 or O3. You actually can start it customize your own agents. The third one is application. That's what we all use. You know, we probably, I have different views why I do not encourage everybody to create their own applications in AI, because, you know, that's kind of dangerous. Because, you know, in order to really making use of the learning resources to our students, we probably want to treat the future learning resources just like in learning sciences. When people are treating medical resources, we do need to have rigorous efficacy studies. I like the gap idea that Cecilia was talking about, and that's something that actually more urgent than you think, from my perspective. Okay, so now if you really want to see what's going on, this is a website that you can see a lot of applications. Last time I checked, there's about over 3,000 applications, all different areas, including education, including entertainment, and then right now probably even more, given that there are more and more powerful resources available. So that's what we have. Now, here I have 4 observations. Now, I want to make it as an observation, is my personal experience, and also I want to make an assumption to develop my next set of slides. Okay, the first one, it's human cognition and large language models are very, very similar, which is, of course, it is observation, but this observation means something. Okay, first, of course, large language model parallel human cognitive process, including contextual understanding, pattern recognition, and memory, so on and so forth. And the transformation architecture in large language models mimic human attention mechanisms, and then everything now, the most thing here. So now, since they mimic us, I think make it easier for us to work with them. Okay, and then right now we say in human in the loop, that's actually only this way we feel like it's possible. Otherwise, we'll never be in the loop because they're not different from you. So now this kind of observation actually make it possible for the situation where Cecilia was talking about human in the loop. The second one, it's this generative AI is getting more and more powerful. Okay, generative AI demonstrates capacity to exceed human performance in specific areas like mathematics, science, reasoning, and programming. Now, that's what we educator actually pay attention to, right? Okay, and it's exceeding us, and obviously exceeding the capacity of teachers, educators as well. Okay, its application offers revolutionary opportunities, including personalized tutoring and automated content creation, capable of addressing global learning disparities. Now, this one, I will say this one also comes in with fatal things. Okay, but because it's so powerful. It's so powerful that we actually started using it. And then last time, right now we're using AI in our classroom. And the one thing that I really observed that we never ask the student, say, are we allowed to use this? I remember in way back when I was when my children were little, and in the U.S., when the teacher wants to use something, they send a note to the parents, say, we're going to use this. So right now we use this one. It's just okay. Just use it. It's almost like a PowerPoint. We never ask permission for the student to say, from now on we're going to use a PowerPoint. Do you agree? No. It's the same thing. Okay, so they are more and more powerful. They just come to us. We feel nature to very, very nature to use it. It's almost like the other day that I was in a hotel, and suddenly there was one little robot coming and say, "Hey, excuse me, I am going out," and then there's a robot over there, and I was wondering, since when they actually ask the hotel guests and say, from now on, you're going to have somebody among you. It's actually not human. Never ask those. Okay. So in other words, now you can see this is more and more powerful, and since it's actually grow, if you consider the intelligence grow, this is actually grow, right? This is actually growing to us, and we are accepting it without even having a consent from human. Okay, so that's something that it's if you really think about it, it's interesting. If suddenly the machine is this powerful, and we have something like this among us, everybody should be alert. Okay, so this, in other words, especially in the education, this advancement require critical evaluation to ensure meaningful integration with pedagogical principles. So that's the third one. The second one. Third one, it's actually this is another thing that I also I've been in among the audiences, and then I probably one of the oldest that in education. I started teaching 40 years ago. Okay, and then technology sometimes, or most very times, fails in education due to misalignment with established teaching methodologies. We always think, oh, when we use technology, for example, like a PowerPoint. So we grow with the time without a PowerPoint, where entire cohort of a student learn without a PowerPoint. And we focus on student handwriting on the blackboard. We were so engaged, and we trying to catch every single errors, and then trying to catch the reasonings of the professors. We learn a lot. I do not think right now when you use PowerPoint, students pay attention to whatever you show on the slides that level. Okay, so that's just, in other words, that's very interesting. Okay, now successful integration demand blending advanced AI tools with pedagogic strategies to enhance learning outcomes. In other words, the technology and learning outcome are not equal to each other. I'm sorry, that's probably with positive correlations, but I'm not sure how big is the correlation. So in other words, now echo what Cecilia was talking about, the human in the loop. The educators should remain central to mediating those tools to maintain intellectual growth and critical thinking skills. Though that's the third one. Now, the fourth one, it's actually some kind of, I was actually alarmed. So last time when somebody sent me a message, say, oh, somebody just invents the tool, say, push a key, is generate curriculum or generating teaching plans as a click. I said, is that something that we want to use? Educators don't care about the preparing classes, just the click a key. Of course, it's greatly reduced the effort that we, as a professor. Don't you think that's really a terrible message sent to the students? We emphasize, you need to do your own work. You need to do homework. You need to do yourself. And in the meantime, are we really, charged as, guilty as charged? It's the same thing. So in other words, the AI tool improve educator efficiency, and this the one here, it's actually help student learn. So that's something that's four observations. Now, with all those, we do not actually have any choices. Okay, the only choice we have is to harness the transformative power of general AI with unwavering intentionalities. Okay, either we integrate thoughtfully, prioritizing humanity, equality, and pedagogy, or we risk surrounding education to blind automation and its unintended consequences. Okay. So this is not just thinking, well, we have technology, we openly embrace it. This is nothing like before. And last time when I was giving a talk in Educational University of Hong Kong in one of their events, I was actually trying to say, okay, in the future, human wisdom and AI in education probably is peace or war. Now, with that, I'm going to just give you some examples. So, like what the promises, what the potential things of this education in education. Okay. Right now, after 2 + 2 years and a couple months later, that we have AI, and AI have one of the very, very, very prominent kind of property or characteristics, almost like a programmer. If you ask a computer programmer, say, can you do that? He never say they can't. Okay. And then the same thing you ask generative AI, it always can. Okay. Now, one is that always can, and that is the problem. And I'll talk about potential things. And one is to always can, it's actually commit the potential sins, especially when you consider, when you use generative AI as an extension of search engine. Just imagine every time you ask them, say, can you summarize my, well, usually search engine, you get my papers, I read it, okay, I summarize. And then this one say, okay, here, this is a lot of applications prior to November 5th of 2023. A lot of applications actually trying to use it to entertain or to help the laziness of human nature. Okay, don't read anymore. I will summarize for you. I don't need to understand, I will do it for you. So in other words, all those extension of search engine encourage the use of generative AI this way. Now, this is only for certain courses. This is due to two things, due to the power of AI, and also due to the inappropriate use of professors in their assessment or in their evaluation. Okay, I compare this one almost like a sports. Remember, in the sports, you have the sports, the people in sports are tempted to risk of using steroids or job enhancement drugs, because their way of evaluating how good you are just by the last competition. So you can jump this high, you can run this fast, that's it, you're the last one. So that is actually one of the keys why people using enhancement drugs. Now, in our education, we actually do that. Remember, the final exams or the ones actually, do that, right? So in other words, people say, oh, I'm having party too late and I need to turn in tomorrow morning. So I'm going to just, use this one to write the perfect essay. And then if I'm lucky, the teacher going to give me an A. Okay. It's almost like the case that like in the gym, you say, oh, I'm in the gym, I want to build my muscles to impress my significant other, boyfriend or girlfriend, and then somebody says, no need, wear this clothes, you're going to be super fit. The same thing in education. In this case, it's, hey, why bother to read the summaries? Why bother to write the articles? I will do it for you. As soon as you do not use it, you're very weak. So you can be very eloquent writer and very, very good, in academics, but after the effect is gone, you're gone. So this is actually, I want to, I've been talking about this one for a while. If we abuse this generative AI, it's almost equivalent to performance enhancing drugs for education. In the previous talks, when I say, okay, here, we as educator, we want to prevent that. We want to make sure that we redo our assessment systems to minimize the tendency of using that. Okay, that's one. But right now, if you think about it, remember I mentioned it to you, one key that actually generates the entire presentation, and this is also for teachers. Don't you think if we actually, the teachers simply press a key to generate the curriculum, don't you think we send the same message to the students? And in the meantime, we probably suffer the same. We are guilty as charged the same. So that is something that I really think that we as educators, we need to pay attention. Of course, we have virtues, right? So if, in other words, if you consider in our, we all, every one of us are educators or our products of this, critical thinking or Socratic method. And then if you ever remember the best teacher that in your elementary school, even in your college, are this teacher or professor that actually help you to think instead of you are impressed with the teacher that, oh, every time I do not have a problem, I have a problem solving my, getting the solution, the teacher just give me the answer, and I say, okay, I'm using the answer. I don't even think why the answer is answer. It is the professors or teachers that ask you questions such that you immediately realize what was the right, what was wrong. Now, if you consider, if we do this one, can we actually using the powerful almighty AI to serve that purpose first? Although the hallucination, getting less and less when new people use agents, but I think that's the people worry about the AI in education is not necessarily because of the hallucination issue. It's actually making people rely on AI and being lazy. Okay, so now if we really build the AI-enabled educational system that do not give answers, never give answers, only provide help, just like a most experienced teacher would. Okay, so for that, I'm going to just share you some of my updates about Socratic playground for learning. So now here, when we talk about educators, they always say, oh, one thing, you know what, AI is very, very good. They can build a movie, they can build a, right image, especially if you think about when the SARA came, movie industry started worried. Professors are excited. Say, you know what? Before I really take video myself, I'm not photogenic and I'm terrible on video. I can generate this. Okay. So, for example, you can do this. Create give me a prompt for a video production demonstrating Newton's second law of motion, and this one can actually do. And then now after this, you actually give you the script. This is almost like a director's cut for a movie. You have a setup, and then it's actually very, very detailed. I tried this. It's actually very, very good. I'll probably share with you later. I'm a $200 a month member of OpenAI right now, so I try everything. That I push the boundary and also trying to see how powerful it is. I find out this one is actually very good. Part 3, 4, 5. This is too little. I'm not going to read this for you, but just trust me. And now I have an issue. Okay, for example, if I say, oh, remember when we talk about human difference between human and animals, right? What do we talk about? We know how to use tools. But the second thing, as we all taught about why human is better or human is human, we use language. And also, if you imagine everything that we do using virtual simulation, we use hands-on, what is the ultimate goal? It's actually transfer whatever you have experienced externally to the internal representation using the language. Okay? So in other words, if you cannot describe using language, I'm not sure how well you really actually understand. There is a saying in Chinese called 以其昏昏使人昭昭, means if you do not understand, you're not really making other people understand. And also, if you cannot internalize whatever you observe in the external world, I'm not sure how solid you are understanding, the reality. So here's what I'm trying to do. I say, okay, here, what do you want to do? So I said, this is excellent. You observed it to me. I said, please create a descriptive explanation for people who are visually impaired, don't have the means to watch a video. And also, I want you to render this one for the 12-year-old, such that, fully allow, reading this without seeing the video. Can you do that? Okay. I've been doing the conversation-based tutoring system in my good part of my last 30 years. Every time we have one version, and as you know, every time we have one version of things, we have intended readers in mind. We have almost assumed the prior knowledge of our readers, our audiences, our users. And if we want to make another version, it's so hard. Okay. Now, if you want to say the first think the generative AI or ChatGPT or the large language model making us surprised because it can say things in all different ways. So the first thing I use generative AI, I say, okay, now if I give you one version of the of this one in one language, I want you to generate it in any language. It actually does very well. So this is the examples. So here is the one is okay here. So now you can see, say, picture a small classroom or quiet science lab. There's a large wooden table, is about the waist high. On the table says a track, which looks like a narrow, flat metal or plastic rail about 2 meters long. See, now you can use graphic language, really trying to bring you to this is kind of simulation scenario. Remember, this is for the 12-year-old. Okay, you can say 10-year-old, or okay, as low as you know that the student have comprehension skills. Okay. Now this is powerful. Okay. Now not only this is powerful, this now you can see the natural language is actually universal interface. Doesn't matter you teach history or mathematics, it is the natural language. It's the natural language is actually the key for the human loop, human in the loop. Well, human in the loop also including the emotion and others, right? So that, but the natural language is the human touch. It's actually the universal interface for human touch. You cannot have a human touch without a natural language. Now, large language model is so powerful with this level of potential. Let's exploit this one. Okay, so now I'm having this. By the way, I can share this slides with you, and you can see how powerful it is. Okay, so now you can see all those red highlighted things are parameters. It's remove the traditional way of function parameter of a function. Now all the parameters are language parameters, which actually make it more at home for us. Okay, so with this, we actually wrote a couple papers, and this is a paper that you can actually get. This is actually in a journal right now, and I'm writing another paper right now. I just submitted, and then for those of you who want me to, I want to share, and this is actually the title of my talk. Okay, so here's something that I want to share. What in my last 30 years that we have been doing at the University of Memphis that we do, we're trying to crystallize how people tutoring. Okay, this is actually observed by hundreds of hours of video tapes in early 80s. At that time, that is high tech, right? We find out this is the key, the smallest kind of pedagogical elements. We call it expectation and misconception tailored dialogue. You basically mimic what human interact. For example, if I talk to Cecilia, when I ask Cecilia a question, of course I expect some kind of answers. If I ask weather, I would ask, answering something about temperature and how much clothes we need to wear, or and also I also expect some kind of speculated misconceptions. Like, for example, I say maybe she will ask about quality of students. I say, this is not for that kind of conversation. I just want to ask you how well is the weather. So now the interaction is actually tailored to this, and this one actually observed in tutoring. Okay, it's called the EMT, expectation, misconception, tailored dialogue, and this very, very simple idea get us a lot of research projects. I myself, like a PI for over $10 million US dollars, and then I was in the project for even more. Okay, so this is the basic. Now we can say, well, how can we do the teaching? So this is ONR project that I did. I just give you the diagram over here. So here's something that people this is ONR Grand Challenge for STEM in 2015. So basically, say we want to teach STEM, but when for the STEM, STEM probably is it's a well-defined domain, and then there are a lot of established principles over there. So in our case, we say since we do the natural language tutoring system, we say okay. Before the student actually started computing, no matter how complicated computing is, you talk to me. Only when I feel that you're ready to plug in the numbers, you plug in the number. Okay, so that's the one. So for example, we first do self-reflection depending on, we actually have a mechanism of evaluating how well they understand reflection. And then that's something that I will show later in the system. That was the system that we built. Actually, we won the award, but technologically, I think it's not even comparable with what we have today. Okay, so with all those background, so here's something that I want to do: implementation. So this is what I have implemented. I have like a 10 minutes, so I'm going to go through this one. Hopefully that you can ask question. I can show a few things. Okay, so here it's called schoolonline.org. School Online is shareable knowledge object online. Actually applied this domain name in late 90s. So that's it's with me for all this time. And this is a very simple interface. So for example, here it's you want to use the English, you can do, and then this is if you want any other language, you select any other language. Remember, large language model. That is actually the reason why I'm in UNESCO in Geneva, because this one actually can use any language, because since I am here, so I can do this. So for example, you can select any language. I mean, Africa, for example, you can do this, and then now you can see that you can have all those different languages there, and then, yeah, in other words, you can do, and of course you can use Asia, you can East Asia here, and you can do all different languages. Okay. And then this is this. So I'm gonna do that in a bit later. So here is some disclaimer. So I do want to make sure that we use AI, or we start using AI in a very responsible manner. So for example, here is something that before they use it, I use this. I try to have a disclaimer very humorously. So here, for example, what I tell the student that I make mistakes. So first, and the most important thing is, don't let students trust me like I am, like a god. No, okay. Think of me as a super fast friend, but even fast friends can miss stuff. It's okay to slow down and check my work. So not critically think on this one here. And the Socratic tutoring, right, taught me well. So don't expect to give me answers. Don't use me as a search engine. Just use me, to guide your questions. Okay. And using natural language. Okay, especially for the hallucinations. Well, my occasional hallucination on flaws. Remember, I tried to mimic this one as a programmer. And in the early days, when you ask a programmer, "Oh, that's a bug," he said, "No, that's not a bug. That's a feature." So let's make the hallucination of generative AI instead of as unfortunate a bug, and I can make it as a feature, because now you know that I will. I mean the system. I make hallucination. I have make flaws, and there are actually invitation for you to flex your analytical muscles. Okay, so here is the last one. So I am actually improving. Okay, so in other words, this one, those claim actually reflect the 4 observations that I want to embed on this one. Okay, so now, so in this case, we want to create something like pedagogically advanced, but interface very, very simple. Well, obviously we can, because that's just chat, right? Right now, anybody with smartphone can use the chat function. Okay, and also we want to make sure it's tailored to learners' needs. So we actually specify domain-specific, context-aware, and individualized learning experience. Make it and also by answering questions and the question answers. And also coach student how to ask questions, ask deeper in the question. Here's the first module. This is actually assessment mode. So now you can see this one here, just the entry point for learners. So as we know that every time we want to teach, we want to see how well they understand. But the traditional or the old way of assessment is kind of machine-like. So how can we build an AI kind of assessment? So even for the multiple choice questions, and you notice you take into account of their metacognitive behavior, how confident, how familiar they are with the content, and how confident they are for the choices, and what the reason for the choices. And you can see this one here, the evaluation coming back is actually almost like humans say, hey, you know what? You initially had a correct answer, and now you make a wrong answer, and you're confident, your wrong answer confidence is 7. That means you're not really guessing the answer. You actually have a misconception. So that's the level of feedback that you have AI. Now AI you can do. And also I have the AI evaluating latency. For example, and if you take too long and say, well, this takes you too long to select the right answer, I assume that you're struggling. And then can you tell me why? Okay, so that's the one. And also vicarious mode learning, observational learning is another interesting thing that I put over there. So ideally, that whenever you're confused, if I have an environment that I am actually working with others, that's great. So this is actually the vicarious learning environment. You actually, the system, remember that multiple agents? So I automatically assemble multiple agents with different background, different approach. Now you can converse with them, basically like you're conversing in a small scale class. Now, at this time, it's not human in the loop yet, okay? Ultimately, we're going to have mixed agents, non-human and with human, and then start discussing. So now this is vicarious mode because the learner actually can observe how do they discuss deep questions. You can ask a question. You can ask a specific person question. Actually, you can make it very, very personal. You say, hey, Alice, my sister, my name is Alice. I like that name. It's actually respond like humans. Say, oh, wow, great. I like that name too. So you can do that. So that's vicarious. So they can go very, very deep. The third one is tutoring mode. It's one-on-one. This is something that I started with Socratic Playground for learning. So here you can see, if this is a question, you have to ask a seed question. Okay, it's actually give you the very, very rare, very, very fine feedback. Now, how fine feedback it is, this is actually, so for example, as soon as you have a question and then the general question, AI actually produce a set of expected answers. Remember the EMT, expectation, misconception, tailored dialogue, okay, the expectation and misconception. And then from now on, it's actually evaluate every answers. How much you have touched expected answers and how much you actually committed one of those errors. And then they have the score that is summarizing. Now, this is something that I find fascinating because so far we say, oh, large language model, they hallucinate because they do not know that they probably give you wrong answers. But in the education, if we really do not use it as a search engine, we want the generative AI to ask student questions. So the AI need to be very sensitive to the student errors, even fine errors. Okay. So I was so happy that I made this happen. I'm like a prompt master. So I'm actually say, okay, here, given this expectation and misconception, this is the student answer. This is student answer. Okay. I want you to do two things. First, evaluate how much is what is the relevancy of this answer compared with my expectation, and how much semantically overlap with misconception that I call irrelevant. And also, in the consequent terms, I want to say how much you actually said before. If it's good, if it's answer you said before, I call it relevant and old. And if it's irrelevant, and also I want to say how much you said it before, again, that's irrelevant and old. And the same way, irrelevant new. So this one here, you can see this one here is the measures, okay? So you have 3 terms over here. This is relevant new, okay? In the first term, there's no relevant, points were made. And in the second one, oh, you correctly notice that the seatbelt hold, this is Newtonian physics law kind of example. And this is the third. And also you can see this is relevant old. Okay, so now you can see even you at the third term you answered, and this one says, hey, you repeated the correct point and preventing the serious injuries. You already said that. Okay, and the irrelevant old also. you randomly use you can. So in other words, this is very fine analysis. Okay, with this analysis, okay, we can really teach the learner how to answer the question. So, and also this one, there was another thing I did not play. This is actually what this one gonna do is make the learner answer questions and the question answers. Okay. And then everybody, feel free to try out this one. So the last one, this one is called a gaming mode. Okay, having some fun. Actually, I was able to use generative AI to mimic very popular games. For example, this is a Jeopardy game. I was doing actually AI to compete, human computer with good AI, because I want that AI always at or better than learner. Okay. The other AI agent is at or worse than the learner. So I always make the learner in the middle. So in other words, you never feel like, oh, I'm better than anything. And you never feel disappointed. So this one here is a Jeopardy game that I use a human to compete with two AI agents. And also I made another one, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which also works. Okay, so the last one is actually teachable mode, teachable agent mode. I want to have the AI to post himself or itself as somebody that is confused. Okay, so for example, this way say, I'm Casey. I'm confused about how an accelerator works whereas in sprinting, and then I'm in interactive physics labs and so forth. And then first elaborate. Okay, when I see the sprinter running faster and faster, I assume the acceleration is the speed that they reach. I think acceleration is just how fast the sprinter runs. Is that right? Can you explain to me? So it's actually ask learner. So now here, this is the direction for the learners in order to really teach this person. And then this one here, it's the misconception that actually this AI, is doing. Okay. So those are the modes that I do. This is only scratch the surface. Actually, it's very there's really a lot of things that we can do using AI. And then the most important thing is, do not make AI for the student as an extension of search engine. And then if we use AI that way, we will regret, because that's, as one of my colleagues, Eric Trade, said that the moment we use abuse AI in education is the starting of human retardation process. Okay, so I have 3 minutes to finish, so I'm gonna do this one here, hands-on. For those of you that wants to try, this is actually hands-on. For example, you can go, just go here. You be as a teacher, and this one actually does, just show you. Actually, whenever I use Zoom, this is slow. It's gonna come back. I'm gonna go to the later. Okay, so this is the link. So I'm gonna summarize in 2 minutes. So we have this elephant in the room, obviously, that we all experienced the roller coaster of this thing coming in a 2 year and then 2 months, or 2 year and 1 month. And then we do not have any choice. What do we have a choice? We do not have any choice. The only choice is to really harness this transformative power of generative AI to really help us to teach, to educate. Okay. And we know that we cannot avoid having this one in the classroom. When Cecilia was talking about having the agent, I say, as educator, okay, are we allow this thing, AI in a human form, into our classroom? That's a policy. Just like Cecilia was talking about the gap, is we need to consider that. What age is appropriate for us actually allow this thing in? Okay, now that's a question. That's not a question beyond ordinary professors. That's a question society need to decide. Okay, and the one thing that I also want to emphasize is this one. So here is something that they talk about like a singularity. They say, oh, you're better than human. There's two kind of predictions. One, it's actually the human intelligence keep as it is, and the artificial intelligence goes like that. Another one is actually, it's almost like we are empowered by this intelligent being, and together we get more and more smart. It's almost like before the wheel, before the engine, we walk slow. We're slow from one place get to another place. As soon as we have the cars, we're not walking. We actually ride the cars, and together we go faster. We can reach our destination faster. Now that is the idea that I want to say. If we want to really make that like go with the intelligence, we just have to make the human as smart as possible and using AI to help us. So here's something that that's what I'm going to share. And then thank you very much. And then I'm from iHeard, and then I welcome everybody to work with me or us.
Thank you so much, Professor Hu. Thank you so much, Professor Hu, for the insightful and thought-provoking presentations. We really appreciate your time and expertise. Since the time is running short, so if you don't mind, you can just click onto the chat, and then you see the link of Padlet there. Then you can leave your questions, unless there is anyone who would like to ask a very immediate question.
Yeah, I like the picture in the Padlet.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please just click on the QR code and then leave your questions there on Padlet. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for Professor Wu for your valuable insights, moderator for your great help, and active participation of the online participants for scanning the QR code for Padlets as well. So following the first keynote speech, we have 4 important announcements.
Thank you. First, please take some time to check. Hello. Okay. First, please take some to check the carefully designed poster presentations right outside this lecture theater. The presenters will be there answering your questions and sharing their research ideas. Second, remember to grab some light snacks and beverages for you. Also right outside this venue. So we look after your intelligence. We also look after your stomach. Remember that
Oh, thanks. Remember, our parallel section will begin at 10:50 sharp on the first floor of North Tower in the classroom N101, N102, and N103. You can check out the online program, or our student assistant will lead you to these sections.
Finally, and most importantly, our lunch buffet will be served at the multi-purpose hall at UG from 12:30, and you have roughly 1 hour for your lunch. Thank you very much, and please find your way to the posters and parallel sessions. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today at CPCECPR 2025. We're thrilled to have you here for what promises to be an enlightening and inspiring session. It is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Guofang Li. Dr. Li is a professor and Tier 1 Canada Research Chair at the University of British Columbia, specializing in bilingualism, biliteracy, and technology-enhanced language teaching. She has published 19 books and over 200 journal articles and delivered over 150 invited talks worldwide. Recognized as one of the world's top 2% most cited social scientists and educators by Stanford Elsevier in 2023 and 2024, Dr. Li has received numerous national and international awards for her contributions to foreign and second language education. Today, Dr. Li will be sharing insights on the magic, myths, and momentum of generative AI in language education, transformation or reformation, a topic that is both timely and critical for AI in education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Guofang Li to our virtual stage.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lai, for your wonderful introduction, and thank you for the organization committee for having me, and for those on-site participants. I apologize for not being there in person. Today, I'm going to just share some of my insights and reflections on the use of AI in language education. Advance? It's not, is it advancing? Hello? Is it advancing?
Can hear. He's sharing.
I may have to stop sharing and then reshare, sorry. So as a Canadian tradition, I would like to first acknowledge that I'm presenting this talk from the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam people of Canada. And today I'll first share what I understand, what the magic of AI, and then talk about a myth of AI in language education, and hopefully see how we can seize the momentum of AI and how to leverage for language education. So the magic of AI. So AI is not really new, but ChatGPT, since the release of ChatGPT in November 2022, the world of education, the world of language education has changed. You can see from these two charts that since November 2022, ChatGPT usually for other companies, it takes a long time to reach 1 million users. However, it took ChatGPT just 5 days to reach 1 million users. So it's taking the world by storm. So in the meantime, this is a very recently released survey of students, mostly college students from 16 countries, that 86% of students already use AI in their studies, and 54% of them actually say they use it on a weekly basis, and 24% of them use AI on a daily basis. So it's widely used among students. In the meantime, there's a lot of language supporting AI tools or AI programs out. So Grammarly that many students are using. Khan Academy recently launched Kamigo AI, which will support language learning in and literacy and different subjects in different languages. Google just released Reading Coach, and of course Duolingo has also has been on the market for a long time, but recently even more popular among language learners, including myself, and my family are using Duolingo to learn languages. So in language education, in English language education and teaching and learning, it has been used for especially ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools has been used for speaking, writing, reading, and to enhance pedagogy, to enhance self-regulation. For a comprehensive review of these studies, you can look at Helen Crompton's review, AI in English language teaching, the affordances and challenges. So AI has been used for a very, especially the chatbots have been very popular for language learning, especially in oral language learning. And so we have Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, ChatGPT, and you can see there are many benefits of using AI chatbots for oral language teaching and learning. And the benefits many of you may have already observed is that alleviating speaking anxiety, hence willing to communicate skills, promote English speaking fluency, and correct English pronunciation, even more motivating for students. So you can see a lot of studies have already documented the benefits of using AI chatbots for for speaking for enhancing speaking in a foreign language. AI also has been very popularly used for writing instruction in second and foreign language. Washer, for example, talk about how ChatGPT has put the imitation contradiction, which means that to increase writing is to have authors or writers imitate the native writers genres. And what they are trying to say that ChatGPT puts the imitation contradiction on steroids. It allows anyone to generate L1-like text on almost any topic without the user needing to be an expert in that topic. And ChatGPT, of course, in a recent article by MIT Technology Review, talk about how ChatGPT can actually turn bad writers into better ones. And there are lots of studies using ChatGPT, consider ChatGPT as an innovative approach to enhance English as a second or foreign language learning. So, and not Gen AI also can do wonders for research. And as you can see, this article that in this website is Connected Papers, and on the topic of Gen AI support for second and foreign language writing. And there's a connected studies just in the last year, 2024. You can see that it's booming with studies on this topic. So if you're interested in find connected studies on a particular topic on Gen AI, you can go to www.connectpapers.com. And in writing, what Gen AI's assisted L writing or L writing instruction has been focused on many aspects, almost every aspect we can imagine. For example, language structure, Gen AI literacy, writing process, text functions, genre, context of writing, and then even critical thinking through writing, content knowledge development, and creative expressions. So, and there's quite a few review studies out already on how Gen AI has been used in L2 writing. And one example is a recent study by Hui Wang and Andong that has been published. They included 21 studies just in the past year. Gen AI has also been used for self-regulated learning in reading and especially in releasing learner anxiety and increasing reading performance. And it has also been used to test whether it's more motivating for students to learn. So you can see that Gen AI has been, all the studies have been really reporting positive results. And this is actually reflecting what a lot of research call a publication bias, means that a lot of journals want to see how AI can be used, and therefore published select articles in general, publish more positive outcomes. So I confirmed with ChatGPT, asked, what do you think of what's the advantage of using Gen AI to enhance foreign language teaching? So in several seconds, actually, it came up with 8 advantages of using Gen AI for language teaching. So this is ChatGPT's answer. One is the personalized learning experiences, and the second is enhanced language practice. And third is immersive learning opportunities. And fourth is accessibility and inclusivity. So under this is actually quite interesting. Talk about 24/7 availability, multilingual support for learners with disability. Talk about gamification and motivation, and teacher assistance and resource generation and workload reduction. And interestingly, talk about how Gen AI can increase exposure to cultural nuances and facilitate cross-cultural dialogues, and even talk about how it lowers users' anxiety and more error-tolerant environment. So ChatGPT even ended the answer with a more encouraging note, say, transform learning with Gen AI, access, adapt, and accelerate your language journey like never before. So you can see that Gen AI, even in this simple dialogue, is becoming very interactive. So because it's the magic that Gen AI presents, that a lot of universities are really fully embrace in AI. So in your world, for example, a report saying at the University of Hong Kong, probably in all the universities, a full embrace of Gen AI shakes of academia. It talks about how researchers and instructors can actually generate learning materials at the tip of a finger's tip. So in the matter of several minutes. And in my world, there are a lot of talks about how we need to embrace AI to foster deeper learning in college classrooms. A lot of the US, for example, in the smaller colleges whose enrollment is declining, are really counting on AI to revive those colleges. So it also actually created some anxiety, and there's a lot of discussion, what is the future of AI for the university? So for example, in Forbes, there's a recent discussion talk about, will AI shrink the university? Will the university become smaller and less instructors because of AI? And very recently, in December, just 2024, Arizona Charter School is one of the charter schools actually is launching a school that use AI in place of human teachers. Every day, the students only engage in 2 hours of instruction, totally using AI, and human teachers are not going to teach those the real subjects, or becoming other kind of activity facilitators rather than actually teaching content. So what's the future of AI for universities and for schools in K-12 schools, which we are going. So in the next, I will talk about in the middle of this kind of just seeing the magic of AI, we need to think about what is the myth of AI. So I reviewed many of the studies on the AI on language education. We start to see some reports, very interesting findings, that a lot of the AI, first of all, according to many of the recent research, that for example, the studies on AI on writing, the samples are very small, and only experiments are always done in a very short period of time. And some studies in terms of longer time, for example, this study that I'm showing on the screen is that showing that the Gen AI is actually not effective for certain populations. It's actually creating a situation where the rich get richer, the poor gets poorer. So which means that Gen AI is actually more effective for advanced learners, but for the less proficient learners, is actually more detrimental. So this is a quote for another review study that's just came out, the prevalent use of Gen AI to address linguistic errors. So they really looking at very fundamental or basic level of writing. And there were student works that did not improve, or even some of them even declined. This phenomenon might be attributed to the excessive reliance on Gen AI tools and the biases and language assimilation that tools may present out to students. On the right, the picture that I'm showing is actually from a real classroom where the instructors in the classroom and students use actually AI to complete assignments right in front of the teacher, which a lot of times do not really reflect the students' real abilities. So in another worry, of course, the ethical concerns about cheating and what's the future of education in AI classrooms. So there's a very well-cited article on what if ChatGPT wrote it, multidisciplinary perspectives on opportunities, challenges, and implications of Gen AI for research practice and policy. So this is really reflecting a lot of a recent incident in one of the MIT Media Lab. The professor talked about a Chinese student who was expelled because of unethical use of AI. Apparently, the follow-up story, even though it's a backlash on the MIT Media Lab in terms of the professor remark, but the fact that the student actually used ChatGPT to alter some of the data to make it look fit to the academic purposes, and then got caught. So this is the kind of start to have ethical implications, especially now in student work. Another question is that is Gen AI really effective in terms of learning and mastery? If we think about writing, especially Washer's quote that Gen AI or ChatGPT make anyone can produce a perfect text without knowing the content, and students is really not mastering the content. So in my world, in a recent survey of Canadian university students, about 70% of students that they are not really learning or retaining as much knowledge when they use Gen AI. So for example, 59% of the population surveyed, which is 420 students surveyed, say they do use Gen AI in their schoolwork, and there's an increase of 13% since the year before, but 75% of them say the AI tools did improve their quality of their work. However, the majority of them say that they don't think they're learning or retaining the knowledge. And 65% of them feel that they are cheating when they use Gen AI. So there are other research also have shown that Gen AI is actually not as is not a neutral tool. For example, they have a lot of cultural bias, and when you use Gen AI, they also have lots of lack of cultural content. So lack of contextual awareness required to function cross-culturally as virtual teaching assistant may need to consider ethical issues. There's also ideological bias in learner chatbot interactions. They may steer learners towards certain beliefs or certain viewpoints. And so even in our own research studies, in my research, for example, we are trying to use AI tools to support multilingual learners and writing. We found that a lot of Gen AI tools were not able to respond to some of the cultural nuances that we need. So another interesting body of research focus on how there are bias in speech recognition chat box for English language teaching. A recent article by Jiang and co-authors, for example, talk about how a lot of chat box actually cannot recognize world Englishes or diverse English tools. And in one of the studies, participants say, well, my English teacher understands my English well, and she said that my English was okay, that foreigners could understand it English, but the chat bot does not, which is honestly annoying. I'm not sure whether or not it is appropriate to keep my current English. So you can see that it has this kind of speech bias really has serious consequences on the users or the speakers and the learners. Another very influential study that published in Nature last year talk about how AI generated covertly racist decisions about people based on their dialect. Their study on Nature mainly used African American English that the samples, they found that actually Gen AI actually created language based on the sample when describe certain people if they are using African American English and need them to have decisions or conclusions about African American people with African American accent are more likely to commit a crime or to be sentenced to death or to be poor. So it's all kinds of racist bias against people who speak a certain dialect. Another is gender bias in ChatGPT. I'm putting these two studies on names. It's really interesting to me because we have a lot of gadgets in our household. For example, we have Siri. We have, when we drive, we use we name a lot of the chatbots. We realize that until I read this article, is that it is true that all our chatbot were named female characters, which is very validating the findings in these studies. Another interesting study is about this association of name and letters of recommendation generated by ChatGPT. If the prompt is using a more traditionally female name, and then the recommendations letters will come up with language that's very different from traditionally male names. So, for example, in traditional female, in the letter for a traditional female name, the language is a lot of more personal pronoun use and a lot of more what they call communal or doubt-raising language. So it's not assertive and therefore affects, this kind of letters definitely affect in the future employment. And so chatbot actually, or ChatGPT actually have gender bias. Another aspect of the myth I want to mention is that it's about the mismatch between teacher awareness and student AI adoption in language education within higher education. In fact, I went into a language classroom here in my world. I found that students use more AI than teachers. For example, I asked some of the students in the classroom how often do they use Gen AI tools? Some of them use very often. However, when I asked the instructors, how often do you use ChatGPT or any AI tools in instruction. Very few of them actually consistently use them. This is a study by talk about how teachers and the students may have very different beliefs about AI. For example, you can see that students actually more knowledgeable about AI tools than teachers. And in terms of AI in education, teachers also have less awareness and use less specific disciplines, and teachers use less as well. So the orange bar is teachers. So, and in first is that students are less concerned about academic integrity than the teachers in this study. So you can see there's a huge gap between teachers and students' awareness and use practices in using ChatGPT. So in my world, we have in North America, the Top Hat actually did a study on college, university faculty use, and found out that there are actually 37% of college and faculty never use Gen AI. Only 51% only used occasionally, only 12% of them use it daily. So you can see very little adoption among college and university faculty in North America, at least in this sample. That a very well-known article that it talk about how that's widely read in the Time magazine is that I quit teaching because of ChatGPT. In this article, the author talk about in a language classroom, and because talk about how now because of ChatGPT, a lot of students use ChatGPT to enhance their writing. Therefore, she spends a lot of time correcting and reviewing papers that wrote by ChatGPT, and she did not feel like this is right, so she quit teaching because of ChatGPT. So you can see that there's a huge discrepancy between students' use and teachers' use or faculty use. But ChatGPT is here to stay, and it will not go away, even though some instructor decide to quit their jobs or some decide not to use it. So in this while, I'm going to talk about how we can seize the momentum of ChatGPT or Gen AI to leverage. So Gen AI is actually creeping into our academic and personal lives. As I'm making the presentation, the AI-powered Roomba is actually cleaning my floor, and my children and my husband are learning French and Spanish, use Duolingo. And last week, actually, when I published an article, the article, the publishing company start to use new AI tools. For example, the Category Connect in the final stage of proofreading. So they are using AI tools now with academic publishing. This is my first. And some companies may already, or publishing house may already use it. We didn't know, but this one is openly tell us that they're using AI tool so to assist with some tasks in the final publication process, and we have to verify it. So we're forced to use it. And last week, when I was actually just before the new year, when I was conducting meetings, now we're using a tool called a Read Meeting AI. Read AI to summarize our meeting notes with my research assistant. So this AI is here to stay, but what we need to do is to have strategic intelligence in terms of now we're like education 4.0. So in the book, very popular book by Gary Marcus, talk about how to tame Silicon Valley, and the whole book is about how can we ensure AI works for us, not we work for AI. Some of you may already receive this very interesting quote from Joanna Maschewska, talk about, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. So in a sense, to seize the moment of AI, we need to think about how to focus on fostering the skills that give humans a distinct advantage over machines to prepare students for the jobs of the future. So we need to think about seriously the human and AI or collaboration, how we can leverage our human advantage in language teaching, for example. So in thinking about this issue, I think that in order to amplify our human intelligence and we need to align AI with best practices in language teaching. I went back to my book, which published in 2010, about a decade ago, about best practices in EL instruction. I found that many of the best practices by the well-known educators in North America, for example, really talk about the very fundamental aspects of learning and teaching. So in order to talk about how Gen AI can be leveraged in terms of by our human intelligence, we need really enact or implement culturally, locally relevant teaching, which means that we need to connect to students, focus on connection, human connection, focus on empathy, focus on fostering students' passion for learning. Another aspect is social and a cooperative learning, which Gen AI apparently is lacking in terms of how do we differentiate learning in the classroom and using diverse instructional methods. How do we foster engagement? Because a lot of the AI tools, even though they are very effective if enforced learning, but a lot of the tools are really implemented by mandate or requirements. How do you foster students actually the sort of motivation from within is really important. Most importantly, in this day and age, how do we foster AI and technologically literate learners? So AI literacy is really about professional long-term. It's a set of competencies that enables individuals to critically evaluate AI technology. This is not new, actually. When other technologies really appear, we talk about how we know those technologies, but also really focus on how to communicate and collaborate effectively with AI. And also now new is the ethical use of AI. This actually can have implication for whether it's online, at home, or in the workplace. But this does not mean that we have to be able to develop AI models ourselves, which actually for a lot of teachers and students, we need to professional development, lifelong learning, because new tools are emerging really daily in our lives and creeping into our lives every day. So how do we need to really continuously to evaluate those new technologies, think about innovative ways to collaborate with AI, and to always keep ethical use in mind. So Gen AI, I quote the most recent report from World Education Forum that Gen AI won't kill language education unless we allow it to. I confirmed with ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT, will AI ever replace our beloved teachers and take over education entirely? So ChatGPT immediate answer is unlikely that AI will replace teachers entirely or take over education in a comprehensive way. Says while AI can play a significant role in enhancing education, it lacks many of the essential human qualities and nuanced understanding that make teachers irreplaceable. So, and of course, it went on to give a list of reasons why human teachers are important. So I'll stop here and thank you very much for listening. And if you have questions, I would be happy to answer. And here's my email if you have questions later. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Lee, for the insightful presentation. We now have some time for questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. And let's see if there are some questions from the online audience. So you can put your questions on the Zoom chat box. So, Professor Lee, yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask a simple question, perhaps. Yeah, how do you envision the future of language education with the continued advancement of generative AI technologies?
Wow, that's a big question. I think it will continue to thrive, and I think teacher will actually revolutionize teachers in pedagogical approaches that I didn't talk here today. A lot of times, like for example, this technology probably will think about what teachers have to think about. There are many tools coming out about how some AI tools will save time, for example, lesson planning tools, and there are lots of tools out there for them. In our world, we have Magic School, we have all kinds of, like, for example, programs like Divot. You can generate really nice teaching resources in a matter of minutes. So then AI is actually saving a lot of planning time. In the meantime, you think about if we save time here, what are the other aspects can we invest our work? So I think it will prompt language teachers to think about more different ways of engaging students. For example, providing more timely or more individualized or human feedback, which are critical for motivation engagement.
It's true. Thanks a lot, Professor Lee. So, do you have any questions? I mean, from the online, on-site and online audience? If not for now, maybe if you can think about any questions, you can put it down onto the Padlet, then we'll relay it to Professor Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lee, moderators and guests. This afternoon panel, so the afternoon panel session, some of them are already beginning, and some of them are gonna begin at about 2:40 on the first floor of North Tower in the classrooms N101, N102, and N103. There will be student assistants to lead you to these sessions. And after the panel session, we'll have about 15 minutes break. Please take this opportunity to check out the poster presentations outside the lecture theater. And also enjoy the refreshments and also lunch at the multi-purpose hall on UG. Okay, thank you very much.
After break, don't forget to come back for the final keynote speech by Professor Ming Chiu from the Education University of Hong Kong. He will be talking about artificial intelligence and big data in education. Please come back to this venue at 4:30. Thank you.
And welcome back. Coming up is our last keynote session by Professor Ming Chiu. Dear moderators, would you please introduce Professor Chiu for us? Thank you.
Thanks, Wen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Mei Chiu, Chair Professor of Analytics and Diversity and Director of the Analytics Assessment Research Center at Educational University of Hong Kong. Professor Chiu is a distinguished scholar with an impressive academic background, including degrees from Columbia, Harvard, and UC Berkeley. He has made significant contributions to the fields of artificial intelligence and statistical analysis with numerous publications and accolades to his name. Thanks. Thank you, Professor Chiu. Today, Professor Chiu will be presenting on the topic applying artificial intelligence and statistics to big data of medtech analysis of conversations.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. So today I'm going to be talking about how to apply artificial intelligence statistics to big data, specifically automatic analysis of conversations. So this work isn't possible without the work of my wonderful research assistant, Choi Tim. And so I was talking with several colleagues about translations, and it was really difficult to translate statistics in artificial intelligence. I actually had 4 assistants help me do a translation. Like that, Kathy, Kelly, Seeming, and Tim for working on translations that were accurate. So let me talk about tradition versus data. There are 4 different decisions based on tradition beliefs. And so rather than data or consequences. And I find this very, very frustrating. It seems like a lot of times it just doesn't make sense. So remember I used to work at a restaurant, and I would pack bags of noodles into a box. I would put 9 noodles in a box, 3 rows by 3 columns. But my boss scolded me because he wanted me to pack 8 bags of noodles in a box, 2 by 4, because we always do it that way, which clearly doesn't make any sense because you're wasting a lot of space. So I'm really glad to be not relying on belief so much. We're working together now to make decisions with data, and specifically using artificial intelligence and statistics. So let me talk about a particular issue: how to improve analysis of talking chats. So I'm going to go to an example chat scenario, example research questions, automatic analysis components, statistical discourse analysis, which is a meta-analysis to statistically analyze conversations. And I go to example data, theory, analysis, results, and discussion to illustrate key ideas in this talk. So the problem I'm going to focus on is how groups solve problems together. So they do this because there are lots of problems that are basically impossible to do by yourself. So you have to work in groups together. So the first step is always to identify what is the problem we're working at. So here's an example from a class lesson. Design an online science lesson about testing hypotheses based on the Western zodiac, a type of astrology. So in order to work on a problem today, you have to pick out your team members. So we picked out team members with knowledge of teaching, science, Western zodiac, and technology. So if you want to have a group of people working on a problem, these are important major steps you need to do before they start working on it. What's the problem, and who are the right people to bring together to work on this problem? So in terms of research questions, I asked 2 major questions. One is, which thinking social processes aid versus hinder successful group outcomes? And second question is, how do my teammates' actions influence my own actions? We want to do automatic analysis. We have to do 3 major types of authenticity. One is automated transcription. The second is automated categorization, also known as annotation or coding. And lastly, automated statistical analysis. My analysis combines these 3 aspects. Automated transcription, actually, this is really difficult 10 years ago. It's pretty close to being solved now. There's lots of software where you can take video or audio, it'll transcribe pretty well for you. It'll identify the objective talking behaviors. One difficulty is that the voice behavior is different across people in context. So even if it does a good job with it, there's still the issue of interpreting what these things mean. And conversely, you have the opposite problem where you have the same sound and behavior but the means or function is totally different depending on the situation. There's still some effort we need to figure out what's going on, even if we have automatic transcription that's So we already have that. Also, there's a lot of online data. Online discussions, we don't need transcription, but it's basically not a big issue. So let's move on to the next part. Sometimes the issues in terms of spellings, the words, and people write, like also emoticons, but generally not really a difficult issue to deal with. The more difficult problem is automated categorization. So you have like, let's say your transcript is going on. You just need to understand like what's happening, and for that you must have a theory. You can't just like throw stuff in. It's unclear what will come out. So you always need a simple theory to help you explain complex phenomena. And so for this, you must have suitable concepts and categories. You have to decide what these are. And so a good thing to think about is like, not just like what are the concepts, but what are the dimensions of the concepts, or dimensions of categories. Because if you can organize things into dimensions, you could explain a lot in very few dimensions. So for instance, if we have 4 dimensions, each dimension has 3 choices, you could cover 81 different phenomena. 3 to the 4 power is 81. So you see how from a few dimensions, a few concepts, you explain a lot of different phenomena. This is generally what makes a very good theory. Simplicity that covers a lot of different situations. So the old way of doing things, we would make a precise decision tree for each dimension. The decision tree is a sequence of questions that help you decide how to categorize something. Typically yes/no questions. And then once we have this decision tree, we write a computational linguistic program to encode this data. This then creates a database for our automated statistical analysis. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say we would have like a transcript. We want to figure out which are commands, which are questions, which are statements. So what we do is we develop a list of questions. So first question is, does this term talk or message describe an action? Also known as a predicate about a subject. The answer is yes, we code as command, and we're done. But the answer is no, we ask the follow-up question. Is the audience the subject of the term? The answer is no, we ask another follow-up question. Is the term in the form of a question? It's also known as subject predicate reversal. And the answer is no, we code as a statement. And the answer is yes, we code as a question. So even for something relatively simple like command, question, statement, to really code it very precisely, we need to like really work through all these different types of situations. So we need to have very precise questions, simple yes/no questions that help us code exactly if there's command, a question, or statement. So this is a traditional way of doing coding. Excuse me. An alternative to this is to have participating created categories. So instead of an outsider doing it, have an insider, the students who are talking, have them create categories and then categorize themselves. This is participant categorized data. The difficulty is you have to make sure all of them understand the categories in the same way. So if we have participants do themselves, the benefit is you have internal participability, also known as MA. So they themselves, they think it's right, they understand what they're thinking about, it's more likely true from an inside point of view. So in this case, student creates cues, then they use cues to subcode the conversations. After doing this can then inform an outside person doing it. So you see what people themselves talk about, how they think about it, and then an outsider can look at it and develop appropriate framework, which is known as edit. You can then write a computer program. So you write a computer program to categorize notes. So now we have ChatGPT, we have large language models. You can just ask it to try it. And so it's difficult. So if you go through this process and then do it, you can have much better results because you can design your prompts and roles very precisely for the large language models. If you just try large language by itself, you might be lucky it might work. You might be unlucky it might not work. The difficulty, how do you proceed if it doesn't work?
And so that's why I recommend you go through the traditional approach first before using large language models. If you combine all these techniques, you get very good results and become very efficient. The last step is automated statistical analysis. So here I combine computer science, specifically artificial intelligence, and statistics. So I create an artificial intelligence expert system, excuse me, and I invented statistical discourse analysis. So I invented an artificial intelligence program I call statistician. It will take any theoretical model and translate it into a statistical model. Then I'll test the statistical model with the data I enter to it. Then the program will interpret the results. So if it meets the satisfaction criteria, we're done. But if not, if it finds that it's lacking in some way, it'll rewrite itself and then change its own statistical model. Then it'll test the model again with data. Eventually, at some point, they'll be satisfied with the output, and I'll output a table of results. So that's a short version of that. The statistical discourse now is going to go into more detail, it's way more complicated. I'll go through it with an example. So the data comes from my friend and co-author Nobuko Fujita. She taught at University College in Canada. There's 17 students. It lasted 13 weeks. It's called the Education Technology course, and specifically we use the online forum. So every single week she posed one new problem, and every week each student was required to post at least one note. That wasn't graded. They produced over 300,000 words altogether, and this was in over 1,000 asynchronous notes. This comes out to 102 notes per week, and each student wrote about 6 notes per week. So they wrote a lot more than was necessary. So the teacher offered optional online cues to start these notes. And she started 4 of them. New idea, elaborate, explain, and summarize. And so we had an interface where the students would go to a browser website, and then there are these 4 cues, and they click on them to write their notes. It looks something like this. My new idea is, they type in stuff, or my explanation is, they type in. In addition to that, the teacher asked them if they wanted to create their own cues. And they did. So they created 5 of their own. An opinion, disagreement, example, asking about how an idea is used, and asking for explanation of the idea. So a second part research question is, how do my teammates affect what I do? And so the theoretical model is based on this idea. How do previous notes affect the current note? How do my teammates affect what I do? So one target idea is explanations. What produces explanations? So cognition previous notes, which I'd like to do this. So an opinion, example, or elaboration. These might lead to explanations. So you can imagine if someone gives an opinion, so it's not very clear, someone asks, like, what do you mean by that? And that's their explanation. Or someone's example, they're not sure like how it's related to what they're talking about, or they're adding something to it. Often it's not clear how these things fit. So these are often places for explanations. A second thing that people do is social metacognition. So let me say a little bit about metacognition and social metacognition. Metacognition is when I monitor and control my emotions, knowledge, and actions. Unfortunately, most people are really bad at this. It's very hard to both do something and monitor yourself after doing it. It's very difficult. So most people have very bad metacognition. So social metacognition might help us with this because we can now split the work. Social metacognition is we monitor and control our emotions, knowledge, and actions. So instead of one person doing everything, doing the work and monitoring themselves, you have a group of people, they can split it up. One person could be trying to solve a problem, someone else might be watching, sees how they're doing. So you can split the work and the monitoring part. So social metacognition includes asking about use, asking for explanation, and disagreeing. And many other things, but these things I'm going to focus on this talk. So an important question we have is like, how does a sequence of actions predict or not predict a particular process? So the old way of doing this is case studies. People who have videotapes of like people talking, and they try to figure out what's happening, describe what's happening. A slightly more sophisticated version is count instances. So how many times is there humor? How many times is there a new idea? How many times is there explanation? And then building on this, once you can count things, you can count percentages. So is 1% higher or lower in one group versus another group? Sequential analysis is a more sophisticated version of this, where you look at the sequences. If you have like a question followed by an explanation that's lead to another explanation, for instance. But the problem with sequential analysis is it's only really good for simple models. If you have more than 5 variables, it breaks down very quickly. So how do we statistically test complex explanatory models? And this is where, this question I actually asked my advisor for my dissertation. So I have these conversations, I statistically analyze them. Thank you very much. So I asked my advisor, it's like, oh, talk to a statistician. I talk to the statistician, and he looked at this problem, it's like, oh, this is pretty hard. Maybe you should do qualitative dissertation first. And so actually that's what I did. I did qualitative dissertation. At that time, there's no statistical method to analyze conversations. And so, of course, this is a very hard problem. It took me about 10 years to work out a solution. So fortunately, I had a job as assistant professor. I published our stuff. And 10 years later, I was actually able to figure all this stuff out. And so I'm going to go through why this is so hard. There are lots of obstacles. And you have to basically solve all these problems, otherwise you can't publish. So the first obstacle is that earlier talk can affect later talk. So things can have effects not just on meeting note, but over multiple notes. So let's say Ben writes, oh right, 2 times 4 is 8 because it's 4 plus 4. That might be affected by the previous message, and then wrote, no, you're wrong. So Ben might respond to Anna. It also might be affected by what Ben said earlier, what wrote earlier. So Ben, 2 notes ago, he wrote 2 times 4 is 6. So you see the current note might be affected by the previous note, 2 notes ago, 3 notes ago, 4 notes ago, so on and so forth. So unfortunately, there's a standard approach for dealing with this called vector autoregression. You can model what is the effect of several instances earlier, affects the current note. The second problem is parallel talk. So in the standard case, people talk right after each other. But you can imagine like a group of 4 people, they might split off 2-2. They're talking to each other, not talking across the entire group. This parallel talk on parallel notes is actually very difficult. So here's an example of this. Here's the first one. Initial topic. Someone responds to the topic. That's what, then the second message responds to the first message. But the third message does not respond to the second message. It responds directly to the topic. So now you see there's one branch here, where there's like one conversation. There's a separate conversation here. There's actually a third conversation between here. So you have parallel conversations that makes it very difficult to figure out what's following what. So to deal with this, we have to figure out who's responding to whom. So let's go through an example of this. Anna says, do 3 times 4. So there's a code here. This is a new topic, so this indicates a new topic. There's no previous node, so this is a simple case. Ben replies 3 times 4 is 7. He agrees with Anna in terms of what they should do next, do 3 times 4. And so we just recopy all of Anna's code. So here, we take the previous node, which is Anna. We copy all of Anna's code here. This way, when we look at Ben, we know what he's responding to. Just copy it. Eva says node 12, she rejects Ben's idea, it's negative sign. And so Eva's responding to Ben, we copy all of Ben's codes over here. This way we can capture what's going on, we can go back in time and see what responds to. So this is a standard sequence where they're following each other. But here, it's a little different. It starts off the same way, Ben responds to Anna. But now, Eva does not respond to Ben. Eva just responds directly to Anna. And so the previous node is not Ben's node, but Anna's node. So we copy all of Anna's codes here. This way, if we know who to respond to, you can just copy all of their codes. And then you can analyze for each row that you respond to. So typically in online conversations, you'll have respond functions, so you know who to respond to. Otherwise, you need to have humans figure out who to respond to. So another problem is that these patterns might be true for one discussion, but different for another discussion. So if different cross discussions, you need to have different models. Or you put everything in one model and account for variation across discussions. So multi-level analysis helps us do this. At the lowest level, we have a message. At higher level, we have discussion. So we have messages with discussions. This is also known as hierarchical linear modeling. Another problem is time periods. Maybe what happens at the beginning is very different from what happens in the middle and what happens at the end. So how do we figure out what these time periods are? Well, we can think about these time periods being separated by breakpoints. So a breakpoint is a critical event that radically changes social interaction. What happens before a breakpoint is really different from what happens after a breakpoint. You can have humans judge this. They look at transcripts like, okay, this seems to be very different now. But then you might be biased, people might disagree. So a better way of doing it is not to have humans do it, but to have a computer program or statistics do it. So instead of humans deciding what the breakpoints are, we statistically identify which breakpoints are. So I wrote a computer program that creates a statistical model that has basically every single possible breakpoint. So let's say this is our data. You put a breakpoint at the second point, they're all the way down, all the way through the breakpoint. So let's say there's 100 data points, we have 99 possible breakpoints. But that's just one. We can also have every pair of breakpoints. We have triples, quadruples. These are lots and lots of possibilities. Which is why, for a human to do it, it's basically impossible. You reach like billions of possibilities very quickly. So you need a computer program to do this. You touch a model with 2 more breakpoints. So which model is the best? The best model is being one with the small spatial information criteria. This is a number based on regression results we can just compute. So the smallest one is going to be the best one. That'll give us the fewest breakpoints that explains most of the differences across time. So here's an example of this. There's these red lines are breakpoints. 1, 2, 3, 4 breakpoints. And these 4 breakpoints divide the data into 5 time periods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in general, the number of breakpoints is always going to be 1 less than the number of time periods. So number of breakpoints equals 1 is your number of time periods. So in this particular case, this is the number of message, and this is like how much explanation they're giving during that time period. So they're beginning, they're trying to figure out what's going on, lots of explanations. Then they get sidetracked. They're talking about movies someone saw last night, and they're not doing much work. Someone says, we need to get back to work, so they start figuring what they're doing. They make a really terrible mistake here, and they don't know what they're doing for a long time. They make lots of computations, nothing makes any sense. At this point, someone has insights about how to solve a problem. They explain it, solve the problem. So you can see the time periods help explain very different types of situations. So we identify breakpoints and we do multi-level analysis. So before we have the message at the lowest level, now we have a time period above it. We'll have different discussions within it. So every discussion can have multiple time periods. Every time period can have lots of messages. Another problem is that when people are talking, or when people are saying messages to each other, the messages that are really near each other are much more similar than messages that are really far apart. So if we don't model properly, we're going to get biased results. So we do something called Q statistics to test for this. We also have discrete outcomes. So test scores are like 0 to 100. But in conversations, we're basically asking, is there explanation, yes or no, 1 or 0? So the same way of dealing with this is using Logio probability. We have multiple outcomes. We could try to predict new ideas and explanations at the same time. So the standard approach for this is to use multivariate outcome models. Some things don't happen very often, like creativity. It's not very common, it's quite rare. So if something happens less than 25% of the time, and you don't take that into account, you're going to get biased results. So what we do is we estimate how much bias there is, and we subtract it out. We subtract out the logic bias. You can also have indirect effects. So it might be that when you're trying to predict the explanation, it's not that someone who proposes an opinion directly calls explanation. That opinion might lead to a question about it, it leads to a request for explanation, which then leads to explanation. So this example of indirect effect, where the initial explanatory variable causes something else, which then causes your outcome. So we model this with multi-level deviation tests. Also, we test lots of hypotheses. We might get false positive just because we're trying lots of things. And some of them will be significant according to statistics, but they're not significant in reality. So to address this, we use something called two-stage linear step-up procedure. Also, we might have missing data. Sometimes data is lost, sometimes you can't hear people, sometimes logs are missing. So what we do is we estimate what that missing data is. This is, we use a method called chain monotonic optimization. This is much better than other methods of removing data or using simpler approaches to replace them. And lastly, we want to see if our results are robust. So we have slightly different data, slightly different explanatory model, so we get the same results. So we try different versions of this. We run separate outcome models. We test data subsets. We try the visual data versus estimated data. And if our model is really good and robust, results will be the same across all these different variations. So this is just about sequences predicting processes. Another question we have is, does this process actually matter for our outcome? So when we're talking, does it really make a difference in terms of the final lesson plan? So the standard approach is to take as your dependent variable, say quality lesson plan, as your outcome. So the question is, which processes yield better outcomes? So in this case, we're going to look at the quality of lesson design. And the processes are explanatory variables. So what they're interested is explanations. So if a group gives more explanations, are they going to have better lesson design? So this is the equation for that. The outcome lesson design is a function of a regression, and one of the variables is percentage of explanations in the group. This may sound not to be significant. It's not significant in part because it's a really small sample. We only have 17 lesson plans. So that's really tiny. You're going to have very little statistical power, and it's very likely things are not going to be significant, even if they are accurate in a larger sample. So what we can do is we can switch things around. Instead of having the outcome, the dependent variable, we have the group process dependent variable. So in real life, we have time. Things that happen before, whatever happens afterwards. You can't go backwards. But in mathematics, there's no time element. It's the equation, and there's no sense of time in statistics. So we can switch it around. So our question is slightly different. We're now asking, are successful groups more likely to use a particular process like explanations? So we use the outcome as the explanatory variable. So we flip our equation around. So is there an explanation that's a function of the quality of the final lesson design and outcome? And now it's significant because we have a much larger sample size. Instead of having 17 data points, we now have 1,330. By going to a lower level analysis, we're using a lot more data. So let me go over examples results look like. We're trying to model what causes explanations. So group outcomes affect the likelihood of explanation in a particular node. So groups that have higher design scores, they're much more likely to get explanations. This shows you how you connect a higher level group level variable to a lower level message process. So black lines, black arrows indicate positive effects. We look at previous nodes. If someone made the elaboration, then the next node is more likely to have explanation. And so thicker arrows indicate larger effects. Also, someone asks for explanation. As you'd expect, people are more likely to get an explanation. Also, we go backwards 2 notes ago. If there's an opinion 2 notes ago, you're much more likely to have an explanation in your current network. If there's a disagreement 2 notes ago, you're more likely to have an explanation 2 notes later. If someone asks for how something's being used, you're more likely to have an explanation. And also, you see the relation between questions. Asking about use is related to ask for explanation. After someone asks for use, they often have to ask, what's going on. So you can see that often in this group, a single question doesn't lead to explanation. There often is multiple questions that lead to explanations. 3 notes ago, someone gave an example that often led to an explanation in the current network. Also, you see request explanations happen again and again. Asking explanation in 3 notes ago often leads to another request explanation in the previous note, which then leads to explanation. This tells us that the first explanation often isn't very good. You have to explain things multiple times. And also, we see this relationship between design score and asking explanations. Why is it that people with high design scores have more explanations? Part of the answer is they ask for more explanations. So it's not that they're just good at explaining things. They're actually good at asking people about why things, how this makes sense. So this tells us that important about a group, what makes a group successful, is really that they're willing to ask each other questions. Willing to ask each other, like, explain why that works. And to request explanation that drives explanations. So that's true for both variables asking explanations. And this is our overall model. So you see that there's a relationship between adjacent messages, the relationships across messages several notes ago, there's a relationship between group outcome and message processes. So we see that group outcome recent notes are both important to predicting explanations. We show there's a cross-level effect. Group outcomes are related to message level explanation. The recent notes create micro context. So recent notes affect what the next note is going to be. This tells us that when people post things on a forum, they're not just disconnected, they're affecting each other. We also see that informal cognition precedes formal cognition. So people give opinions, examples. These often lead to explanations later. Social cognition has strongest effects. Asking for use and screening are most likely to yield explanations. This has several important implications for teachers. The first is group processes are strongly linked to group outcomes. If you want to see how a group's doing, look at how they're interacting with each other. It'll often tell you how likely their final outcome is going to be, good or not. So when a teacher is looking at a group of students, it's really important to look at not what one person says, but how they interact with each other. What the sequence is, not just individual actions. Especially their social cognition. How are they monitoring one another? In addition to thinking, of course. The really important thing is we want teachers to welcome opinions examples. They're not very good, they're not very well thought out, they might be unclear, but this is what they need to begin with. It's going to lead to explanation later. So we ask them opinions examples, and then we help them develop them into better explanations. This also has implications for researchers. Statistically, we want to identify breakpoints that radically change the process. What are the important moments in conversation that can radically change a conversation? We can also show how it affects different across people across nodes. So it's not like one over theory for everything. We have specific adjustments for particular people, particular time periods, particular nodes, particular topics. There are variations on almost all of them. A comprehensive theory has to adapt to these local differences. We can use our model to tell you what the specific effects for each type of situation. So we can tell you, yes, they're different. We can also tell you what the pattern is for each type of situation. And so, as before, it's more to think about the effective sequences. Not only a single action. Look at the sequence of actions together. And so, combining my artificial intelligence statistics program and a new statistical model. We can do automated statistical representations. And so by combining these things together, we take huge data sets, big hypotheses, and test them across millions of data points. So in general, we can answer whole sets of questions of the type, what pivotal or recent events affect people's behaviors over time during student conversations, as we did here? When students think about problem solving, infants learning a new word, online sexual predator chats with children, which is something I did in a separate paper. You can analyze how people play basketball games, stock market transactions, and even what happens during wars. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chiu, for your insightful presentations. We now invite questions from the audience. And for those who are joining online, you can also put your questions on the chat box.
Professor, my question is, how do you use the future of AI and statistics evolving in the field of big data analysis?
So I think with big data, you have so much more information out there. And so a big question is, how do you deal with so much information? So there are different ways to deal with this. You can have a theory, which is my approach. You have an idea what's going on, you develop a theory model, you test it across your giant data set. The alternative is to just like ask AI to look for patterns. So, both sides will be fruitful, and you probably want to do both together. If you have a theory, your theory is probably wrong in some way. And then you can tell from analysis of the errors where it's going wrong. The difficulty of only looking for patterns is sometimes hard to know what's going on. So let me give an example from Purdue. When I was at Purdue, they have a chief data officer. They put all the university data into basically like giant databases, make it simplified. And so someone did a pattern match, like what predicts people failing. So it turns out that if you eat breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're more likely to fail. Which is weird. Like, why, if you eat breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to fail? Also, if you do laundry at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're also more likely to fail. Like, what's going on here, right? So this is what you can get. You can get these weird results that don't make any sense unless you ever know what's going on. So I looked at the data somewhere. I was like, okay, 9 o'clock in the morning, what's going on at 9 o'clock in the morning? Well, there are classes at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's not simply that people are eating breakfast or doing lunch at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's people who have a 9 o'clock class and are eating breakfast instead of going to class. Or they're doing laundry instead of going to class. So this is where you need to have an idea what the situation, what's going on is. You want to have a theory of what's going on to help you understand the results. The danger if you just do pattern match is that you won't understand the results. So you always want to have an idea what's going on, understand the phenomena. You want to have a theoretical model. At some point, it doesn't have to be at the beginning, but at some point you need to have a theoretical model. So I think these are the issues. That you always want to have like a clear idea of what you're thinking about. You want to have a sort of set of ideas you're testing. Because you have so much data now, you just ask for patterns, you get zillions of patterns. And it'll be hard to understand what's going on. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Do we have any questions? Online? Okay, no, okay. So if you have any questions, you can just, just use our alert to, just to put your questions through that. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chiu, for the keynote speech. It's very insightful and, wonderful to hear you speak. Can I now invite Professor Ricky Chan, Associate Dean of Education of CPCE, to present a souvenir to Professor Chiu, please. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chiu. Professor Chan for us to invite you to also give us the closing remarks for our conference, please. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, speakers, colleagues, and participants. As we bring this insightful and inspiring conference to a close, it's my honor to share some of my reflections and also express my heartfelt gratitude. Over the past sessions, we have examined the transformative potential of technology and AI in education, from advancements in AI-enabled tools to innovative pedagogical practices. And from this conversation and also conversation from the previous sessions, we have explored how these developments can enhance learning, teaching, and assessment, while also addressing various issues like the ethical issues, social issues, and practical challenges all this AI and also technology bring to us. Throughout this conference, I think a few major themes emerge. The first one is the human-centered AI integration. While AI offers remarkable opportunities, the human element in education remains essential. Technology must complement but not replace the expertise, creativity, and empathy of human beings, that means educators. Second, ethical responsibility. As we integrate AI into education, we must take proactive steps to address various issues like the data privacy, security, and fairness. An inclusive and ethical approach must guide us in creating equitable learning opportunities for all. And third, collaboration across different disciplines. The insights shared today underscore the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration. Educators, IT experts, researchers, and policymakers must work hand in hand to ensure that technological advancement meaningfully serve the needs of learners and also educators. As we draw a close to this conference, let us carry forward the knowledge, inspiration, and ideas we have gained. The knowledge to transform education with technology and AI is ongoing, and it's up to us, that means educators, researchers, and practitioners, to ensure that these tools are used responsibly and effectively by fostering innovation, maintaining ethical standards, and prioritizing the needs of learners. We can create an educational landscape that is truly transformative. Before we conclude, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who made this conference possible. First, to our keynote speakers for their insightful and inspiring contributions. So thank you for the ritual. And second, to all the session presenters for sharing their innovative research and practices. Third, to the organizing committee, whose hard work and dedication brought this conference to success. And last but not least, to all the participants for your very active engagement and thoughtful discussion. So thank you once again for joining us, and I wish you all the best and continued success of your own endeavors. I look forward to seeing how the ideas shared today will shape the future of education. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chan.
Thank you, Professor Chen. Before we say goodbye, we are going to have photo taking sections. I invite Professor Chen, Professor Chiu, and Dr. Asator to come to the stage for a photo together. And I also invite all our organizing committee members and also admin teams and also student helper to the stage for a photo taking section. Thank you.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please get us. We're going to have another photo taking section from the stage by the photographer.
Yeah, everybody, let's have one more round of photos so we can sit together and because.
Cheers. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of CPCECPR Conference 2025. We'd like to thank all of you, all of our guests, speakers, participants, again, for the valuable contribution and also your presence. We're very honored to have you with us at our annual conference. We also look forward to seeing you again in our future events and wish you a wonderful 2025 and the year of the snake. Have a great evening. Thank you.